previously on Supa-Saturdays Draw-Along.
That's why I love to draw, and I wanna create Supa-Saturdays, Supa-Saturdays, Supa-Saturdays Draw-Along.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, once again to Supa-Saturdays Draw-Along with me, Jerome Hinds. And it's the month of June. We've called this Jungle June. So as promised, I tell you what, you know what? I'm going to play my trailer for this month. This tells you what you're in for during the month of June. I think I've got a preview here somewhere. Oh, my line. I am sure that I have it here somewhere. Okay, here it is. Check this out.
Supa-Saturdays Draw-Along welcomes you to Jungle June. That's right. Join Jerome Hinds here on the Madness Entertainment Group for a month of tutorials on how to draw some of the best-known heroes from the land of rainforest. Black Panther, Shana the She-Devil, Khazar, and Zabu. And of course, the King of the Jungle, Tarzan. That's Jungle June with Jerome Hinds on Supa-Saturdays Draw-Along.
So you saw that and you heard that. And today, we're going to be drawing Shana the She-Devil. Now, who is Shana? Who is she, I hear you exclaim? Well, let me show you. This is one of my Bronze Age favorites. There's Shana the She-Devil, the lady in the leopard skin print. Okay, so we're going to be drawing her today. Or we'll be drawing her in an original pose. That's roughly what the costume looks like, yeah? So here, we come to my empty canvas. So if you're watching, if you're going to follow me for this exercise, turn your canvas portrait or your paper, however you're drawing. And as always, I'm going to start with a skeleton. And my color coding for skeletons is that I normally draw my skeletons with red pencil. So I've always said that the most important bone in the body is the spine. So we want Shana to have some movement. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to curve that spine. Can you all see that at home? I'm going to curve that spine. And this is not going to be an easy pose. Shana is going to be looking upward. So there's the neck. Now the shoulders are going to be slightly raised. So we put in a curl with the shoulders. Something I discovered quite late in drawing is the importance of shoulders and of course hips. So let's come down to the hips, shall we? And we're going to put a dip, what I call a swing, in the hips. You see the nodes that I put on the shoulders there? That's to tell us that the joints are there. So I'm going to put one node here. And the hips and the hips are just slightly wider than the shoulders. Here's a node. And generally speaking, I make my upper leg about the same length as the spine, but there's a little bit of foreshortening going on there. So this upper leg, I'm going to make slightly shorter. She's going to have a bent leg. So we put the knee in here. Good. And then the lower leg. Now, I actually defy true anatomy with my legs because I have a tendency to draw my lower legs longer than the upper leg. And anatomically speaking, that's not 100% accurate. But I kind of got this, call it a fever, from manga drawing. Quite often in Japan, a lot of the mangaka, as you call them out there, have a habit of drawing lower legs much longer than they are in reality. And I kind of like the look of it. So we're starting with a skeleton, but what I do when I'm drawing a skeleton for feet and hands, I put in a basic shape. Then I put in little stakes to signify the actual digits. So there's a tapering on the toes, and the big toe is going to be raised. Now I always put the underpants in. This lets us gauge the size of the legs. But I'm drawing through the object here. So I want this knee to be locked. So this leg is behind, but we're going to draw through. Remember, roughly the same length as the spine. There's a knee, and as I said, a locked knee. So the lower leg, we bring out in a curvature. Now, of course, this kind of stuff is a bit tricky. It all comes down to anatomy at the end of the day. And the more you practice drawing, the more you study still life, etc., the better your anatomy will become. And I want this foot to be kind of locked and the toe, the big toe raised once again. So there's an ankle. I'm going to be here with you for the next hour and a half. So we're just going for a sketch of Shannon, the she-devil. So one arm is going to be raised, which is going to be foreshortened. That's going to be the most tough. So let's go for the arm. We're going to have a prop. We're going to have this arm grasping a twine, like any lady from the jungle might be, who's swinging through. The lower arm, about the same length as the upper arm, wrist. Now here comes that shape I generally put in for a hand. You put a basic shape in. Then from there, you figure out where your knuckles are and you put in rough digits. That gives us the action of that hand. And we know the rope is going to come in here and it's going to come out the back of the hand, which is going to be somewhere here. So even at this early point, we treat the vine as part of the actual sketch. Now, foreshortening. Here's where it gets difficult. This arm is coming towards us. So to signify that, I bend my limbs. That shows me that this hand, this outstretched hand, is going to be coming towards us. Now, if I foreshorten that too much, I would say possibly. Let me just outstretch it a little bit more and raise it slightly. Good. Now the hand. Let's put a basic shape in here for the hand once more. Now there's a bit of foreshortening, as I mentioned, a bit of forced perspective. So this hand is going to be a little bit larger than otherwise. Then a joint here, there, 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 and there. And these fingers are going to be outstretched. So see, they're being foreshortened. And we can put slight curves in them. This is where the joint is going to be, in the fingers. Try to get this straight in your head first. There. Now the head is going to be raised. So again, this is not an easy angle to draw. So the first thing we do is we make sure we draw. We make sure the head is displaced to the neck. You know, our head is a ball on a stick, basically, right? So there, the chin is offset to the left. We'll be looking at finding the center of objects later, which I always, for any of you who've tuned in before, you know I'm very big on that. So now let's find the front of this face, roughly speaking. So we know the chin, you've got the underside of the face here, and this is the front of the face. At the skeleton, I like to get the basics of my face alignment kind of sorted out. So I want the center of the face to come down here somewhere, and it's going to go under the chin. So we've got the center of the face. With the face being raised, the eye line is now up here. Now here's what's most difficult to get your head around. With the foreshortening, it kind of makes the nose, the line for the nose is here, and my girl has an open mouth. That's why her chin is so low. So we put in a basic shape here for that mouth, and we put in the fundamental eye sockets there. We've got the basic shape of the face going. So we call that skeleton. So I'm going to name this layer SK skeleton. Next, we've come to another layer that I call fleshing out, FO. And I flesh out in cyan or light blue. So you see I'm working digitally here with Clip Studio Paint. And I'm changing the color of my layer, as you can see over here on the right. So now on the fleshing out layer, I'm going to start to build up the shapes of my character. So the first one I'm going to come to, let's go back to the body, shall we? So here's the shoulder. So let's draw in a socket of where the arm would sit. Okay, we're going through fundamental shapes here. So there is one socket just over the shoulder. We can take that down and across. And here, now this arm is slightly coming towards us. So I'm going to shape this shoulder in that direction. And it's going to raise and meet the other one. Now you can see her bent spine. So we're going to curve this body. Coming from here, we're going to curve this body. Then we put in the trajectory for how the body is going to wind up there. We're just going for fundamental shapes first. So for her pelvis area, look at the change in direction. We can draw in the pelvic floor here. And you can see how it's changed direction over this area. So what I call the underpants, we can start to put these in here roughly. Let's draw through the object. There's the underpants going underneath. But this is a raised leg. And this leg goes in to the socket. I'm drawing through the object, okay? To show you how we're getting these shapes. Good. Now for this lower leg, that's slightly gone away from us. Let's put in the upper leg. So here's the knee. Remember we wanted the knee to lock. So there's a joint for the knee. We bring in the thigh. You can see here, I probably made this leg here a little bit thin. Remember, I'm drawing through the object. Some of this leg will not be visible, but we're going to work this out together. Now here's the lower leg. We've locked that knee. So we can bring in the lower leg here. in the ankle. Back of the leg here. Good. Now the foot. This foot is turning away from us. There's the heel. And there's that toe that we had flicking out. And from this angle, we can't really see the other toes, so to speak. Now here's a front leg. Here's a front leg. So it's coming over the top. Now this leg is slightly facing us. We're going to go through this again in a moment. And the thigh comes around. So I'm going to draw the upper leg. So we know we want the back of this leg to come up to meet this part. Then the lower leg here. There. We're just drawing our cylinders for us. There's the ankle joint. Okay, let's bring this calf up. That's going to join here. Then the lower leg. Remember to keep your joints nice and slim. Good. Now, let's join up this foot. There's the top of the foot. Here's the heel. There's our first toe. Let's curve back. Remember, toes have like a tapering, correct? I'm doing a canvas recording, and that sometimes causes my computer to kind of stall. And she's got a raised big toe. Good. That's the legs. Let's go back to the body. So let's go to the easiest part. This arm, again, is slightly turned towards us. So here's this arm. We'll get into the absolute shape of the limbs once we get the basic shapes in. So put in a curve here. Then the wrist here. Join up the back of that. Now we've got this hand. Here's the back. So we can come in and we can flesh these fingers out a little bit more now. There's the skeleton, the knuckle. We've got the shaping for the knuckle. You can see my computer there. It's thinking about it. There, recovering. Let's zoom in. Toy like a toy guy. And there's the back of the hand. And let's put in this vine. And here's the vine coming from behind. The hand from within that finger. Good. And let's go for the foreshortened hand. There, we draw the elbow for us. So there's the shoulder coming over, goes to the bicep. We draw through the object. So that's the back of the arm. But now the front of the arm, it's going to be in front. Here's the wrist. So I'm putting a little bit of anatomy now. You can see a bit of the shape of the limbs, etc. So now let's start to flesh out this hand. There's the thumb, comes into the palm. And you see the joints of the fingers. Right, this is the foreshortening on the fingers. There's the edge, there's the joint, now the joint, and the joint from underneath. Same again here. And this little finger it's kind of bent over. There, that's our basic shape in for the hands. So let's look at the neck. Here we've got the neck coming up. Right, the neck goes into the torso. Now she's kind of leaning back, you could say. So we can only just about see the neck entering the body area. So if this is the outer face, this is the curve of the side of the face. Now the thing is this, because a face pokes outward, the nose is actually going to be slightly off center. There. And her eye is in the socket. So it's going to be somewhere down here. You can see here the foreshortening has made the distance between the eye and the nose much smaller, you could say. So there. And you got an open mouth. So there's some teeth. Teeth there, bottom lip. We have her looking down towards us. It's on the side of the chin. Now her ear would be here, but she's got very long hair. And the way I'm going to treat this is I'm going to have the hair coming from a side parting slightly and goes over that side in that way. Whoops, hold on. I'm just going to move this segment of her face just down very slightly. Whoops. That's better. For the eyelids, that gives them more of a sultry look. We'll fine-tune this when we come to the proper sketch. Then I'm going to have her lustrous hair coming down the side of her head. So this is roughly the fleshing out we've got happening. Now, as we do this, we have to make sure we understand the form that we're doing, find the center of the object. So here, the spine is at the back. So this is the center of the front of her body. As is this, is the center of her pelvic area. So her chest area, I'm now going to put the markings here for her chest area, there. This is on this side of her body. And the one, of course, on the other side, is going around her torso. So we can fluffy earmark that one here. Good. And her hair is quite long, so I'm going to put a bit behind her. There. Now we come to what we call the rough detail, where we start to actually flesh out the body. But I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to start to earmark the costume on this layer. So she has a costume where her top wraps around her body and she has a hoop in the middle here that holds her bikini together. And the costume goes into that. And it also connects to a necklace that she wears. It has animal teeth on it. She has these same animal teeth on bracelets that go around her upper arm. So we can depict those like that. And she has them around her lower legs as well. One here, there, and there. Good. I think we are ready to start fleshing her out. So the costume is going to come across here and then down that side of her body. Good. So now I'm going to get a new layer. We call it sketch or SK. Here we can start to define things a bit more. So if you're following me at home, what do I always say? I have a saying that I always say here on Supa-Saturdays Draw-Along. I always say to keep those pencils light. Indeed, because now we're going to be building up what we've done with pencil. So here, whoops, we've got, come to the nose area. Now I normally go through another process where I explain the trajectory of things. And I'm wondering if I should do that on this auspicious occasion. Yeah, what I normally do is something called the trajectories, which I depict with orange pencil. Here's the teeth, the side of the mouth, teeth projecting here. So go open mouth. We come around the chin. I'm just recovering from a terrible bout of flu, actually. I'm only just recovering this morning. But my nose is still streaming. God damn. Give us some thick, lustrous eyelashes. My overall shape of the face was basically there. I made the face broader than I should have. I would say slightly. And probably take her chin up slightly. Looking at this now. Make her neck a little bit longer. Yeah, I think that's better. What we do is give her a bit more, make a little bit more aggressive looking. We've got the hair coming up here. Good. So you've got the hair coming down the side of the face there. For that side. Put in a little bit face shape there. And I was here earlier this morning for Late Night Art Attack with me and Raul NT. And that was great fun, as normal, as usual. Apple and tea. Goodness, my nose. Screaming. I was very rough yesterday, but I've made a bit of a miraculous recovery, I dare say, this morning. Because I knew I had to come on here and talk to you fine people. So there's the arm. Here's the piece of costume. The decoration. And the teeth on her costume. There. And this arm, foreshortening, comes in. And we have the bicep underneath. In the back, see, she has a very slender waist. As you know how most ladies from comic books always seem to have very slender waists. Slender waists. Is that English? Slender waists. God damn. And I think I actually made her body quite long. It's unusual for me. So here, you fine-tune the sides of the chest. Out there. And the costume. Remember the ring I mentioned on the top. So here's the ring. There's the ring on the top, and the costume goes into that. It goes down the body. So here, goes in. And I've kind of like drawn through the object. So here, you remove this bit of the ring, because you won't see that. And you won't see this. And the chain that she's got with the same animal teeth are there. Now her hair. I'll make the bulk of her hair go behind. So I'll bring a curve down here. The shoulder goes over there. Then the hair goes behind. Okay, here's the raised shoulder. Because we're just stalling again. See that? You can see that there, right? Sorry, I've not been paying attention, but it appears that a few of you are watching. Thank you so much for joining me here on Supa-Saturdays Draw-Along. I've been locked into drawing the Shan and the She-Devil, and I didn't think to look up to see if anyone was actually watching. And it appears that some of you have materialized. Okay, now, I think someone's written a message. Let me check what that is. You know, she's a lady, so we're going to keep these fingers dainty. When you're doing some heavy foreshortening on fingers, it's easy to make the fingers very stocky. We want to avoid that. And we're going to put a slight bend in the little finger. Now, if she's Shanna the She-Devil, if she hangs out in the jungle, where she goes to get her nails done is anyone's guess. But I'm not going to bother trying to answer that question here today. Hang on. This little finger seems a little bit on the small side. You're following me at home. Be sure to make sure your fingers are the right size. Right, so I'm going to bring this in here. And here's the elbow. Comes to the tricep. There. Whoops. Sorry. There's one comment there. Who goes there? Houston, Texas, Dave. Watching this with my son. He's got his notepad out and drawing along with you. Oh, what's your son's name? Thanks, Texas, Dave. Oh, that's lovely. Excellent. I can see I've made that arm slightly long. Let's put in the back of the arm here. Here's that arm decoration. We put in these teeth. There. I'm just going to take her throat in a little bit more. There. That's better. Good. Let's go to this hand. Okay, I'll do this one slowly. As you've got a youngster following along, hands can be a bit tricky. So we got the rope. Let's reaffirm the rope first. Comes down, give it a nice curl. Actually, it's a vine. We're just going for the basic shape of the vine, not any detail as such. It goes off a bit to the forest. So here is the little finger, knuckle, ring finger, knuckle, middle finger, knuckle. Then I like to raise my index finger. It gives the hand a bit of emotion. There we go. The toughest part here is this foreshortening. Is, you see, as it wraps around the cylinder, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to rush off. I'm going to put in this, I call this trajectories. I know that Dave's son is watching, because what happens is, always make sure that you understand the volume of what you're drawing on. Now, you don't have to draw these lines, but this arm, this hand, this is the volume of these objects that you're looking at. Like here, her body is slightly going away from us there, but then by the time it gets here, it's going in this direction. Okay, so always keep an eye on what's called your trajectories. There, this hand is coming slightly towards us. Then at the wrist, it turns and it's coming towards us even more. It's always good to have an idea of this. Good. So now, got her hair coming down behind her again here. Such a lustrous head of hair. So now we come to the body. Here's a leg. To the lower body, sorry. And here's a thigh coming over the top. And that's going to extend to her knee, which is there. There, and there's a curve, the back of the leg. And this knee is slightly coming towards us, so we can see the front of the leg there. Remember we drew through the object? That's the leg behind. Here, the knee's going to lock, so we can put the knee. Here's the lower leg, comes down now. There's the back of the heel. So the heel comes around. The foot's going to come down. Here's where the ankle is. So we've got the sole of the foot. This is the big toe, this is the inner foot. And we put a little bit of movement in the big toe to give it some emotion. And the other toes are hidden from us on this foot. For this foot, it's going to come down here. This foot is slightly turned away from us, sorry, towards us. So it's going to come in here. And then her pinky toe is turned in, as is the next toe. And the next one. They're tapered, right? But only the big toe is actually raised. And the ankle is there. Okay, now looking at this foot is bigger than this. So I'm going to have to, I think I prefer the larger foot. So if you can, make that foot a little bit bigger. I'm going to flatten the upper part of that foot slightly there. There. Good. So now her costume, she has like a bikini. So it comes from the hips to the center of the body, which we've depicted as there. Then it goes up the other side. There it's coming off of one hip there. Then it goes over one leg, the leg about there. And it has a leopard skin print. So the way we do a leopard skin print is we put 4 paws, 2, 3, 4, and then a big blotch below. So her costume has paws all over it. So we put it over her bikini bottoms. Bikini bottom. Oh no, SpongeBob. Oh God, SpongeBob. There, 2, 3. Three. And she also has this pattern on her top. Now here's the funny thing. We're going to try to get the pattern to follow the shape of her top. What I mean is, if we go back to trajectories, the shapes here, right? We can draw the curves like this. Like this. And the centers like this. And we have to keep into account the distortion on our pattern. So if we draw the paws up here, you want to distort the pattern a bit. So it takes into account it's going around the shape of her chest area. So the paw print at the top should be more distorted. Then as it comes more towards the front, it becomes more of a normal shape. 2, 3, 4. I remember the old days when I used to see Spider-Man cartoons. They would never draw his webbing totally. And of course, it's because it took too long. To draw that webbing in animation would be a nightmare. And I never saw Shanna in animation. But I dare say they'd make this pattern a lot less complex. They probably put less paw prints. Let's get a distortion happening here. Put one in this direction. We put one here, upside down this row. There. Now, how are we doing for time? How are we doing for time? Do we have time to ink this? Let me have a look at the clock. Oh, 45 minutes left. Oh, lovely. All right, a second. Because someone else lurking here in the letters. This art would have been appropriate for last night's show as Morris Day and the Times sang Jungle Love. Where was that? I didn't know Morris Day was. What gig was that? Oh man, I love the time. God damn. I had no idea about that. Yeah, I was a rare Prince and Time fanatic on that Minneapolis sound. Put a bit of hair in behind there. Oh, look at that. I forgot the back of her top down here is also going to have. That was Dan, by the way, who just told me about Morris Day and the Time. Dan Sen from Thunder Zone Comics. Which, that's a beautiful segue, ladies and gentlemen. Here's what we've got coming up from Thunder Zone Comics. I'm a senior editor there. I'm one of the creators. And we've got this coming up. Let me pause my music. Have a quick look at this trailer.
Paying tribute and great homage to the United States of America on its esteemed 250th birthday comes How to Draw Characters from the Thunder Zone Activity Book, a 188-page activity book that launches on July 4th, 2026. Written and illustrated by Jerome Hinds, President of the Association of Comic Artists Singapore. Comes the ultimate tribute to the birthplace that brought to the world the splendor of superheroes and comic books. Jerome is a creator and senior editor at USA-based Thunder Zone Comics, and in the book, he shares with you the knowledge and methodologies of his work from over the past 8 years, all neatly wrapped up in a 10-chapter step-by-step tutorial. He covers full-length character construction, studies in hands and feet, secrets in foreshortening with props and weapons wielding, plus penciling techniques, inking, digital coloring, and even comic book cover layouts. It's all here and available in both soft or hardcover. And if you really can't wait to get your hands on the physical thing, there's always the digital guidebook edition available for pre-order now. How to Draw Characters from the Thunder Zone Activity Book, with Jerome Hinds launching Independence Day 2026. And available now for digital pre-orders, exclusively from Amazon.com.
So you saw that and you heard that. And that's launching Independence Day. Great fun. Great fun to produce. And I hope you all feel inspired to get a copy. Now, back to the assignment. Let me get my music going again. I can see none of you left. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, so hopefully some of you are still drawing along with me. So I'm just going to put in a bit of the muscle sinew. So we've got the center of the body. Here. I'm going to take her belly button's about there. Put in just a few ribs. And there will be putting a bit of collarbone. Good. And we still got, I must say, I did this faster than I thought I would. I hope I'm not going too fast, because I think we do have time to ink this. Now let me just have a look at this face. I think her mouth should be perhaps a little bit wider. Please don't stall me now, computer. Look at it. Recovering settings. It's because I'm doing a time lapse. Good. Yeah. Put a tongue in there. I think it could be in darkness. I still think we can maybe slim down the lower chin a bit. Yeah, I think that's better. Whoops. Zoom in, boy. Okay, so let's get some inking happening. I think we've got enough time. Let's switch off our construction to see what our sketch looks like. Okay, so this is what our girl looks like. So, let me check on the comments to make sure. Oh, that was in the Purple Rain movie. Yes, indeed it was. I was a total Minneapolis freak. I was playing all of that kind of funk music back in the 1980s. In fact, I was playing Prince's album just this morning. Okay, if you're drawing along at home, I'm going to move this hand over slightly. That's better. And now to do the inking, I'm going to switch off my construction. I call this layer IK for inking. My trajectories I make orange. So it's everything I feel obligated to ask Houston, Texas. Houston, Texas, Dave. Dave, is your son okay there? Oh dear. Should be a bit of hair in there. Okay. So we kept those pencils light, didn't we? Yes, we did. So let's get into some inking, shall we? I'm going to go for mapping pen, my favorite. And 5 pixels. So we're coming thick, thin, thick, thin, thick for under the chin. I do like the idea of trying to get young artists into the discipline of inking. It is true to say, though, that there are some people who were born to ink. They can handle a pen or a brush in an amazing way. And there are others who are fantastic artists, but for some reason, it can't ink. It's very odd. And I never forget, there was a movie, I think it was called Mallrats. Chris Rock was in it. It had Jay and Silent Bob. And Chris Rock is a bit of a geek, actually, from what I can tell. And he appeared in the movie, and he met a guy who was an inker, and he called him a tracer. Jesus, it was so funny. Because inking is definitely not tracing. But, you know, it was just the kind of obnoxious humor that anyone who's a comic geek would really get it. Yeah, I think it was called Mallrats. Jeez, amazing. Okay, here we are. I often go for the hair first. It's one of the more difficult areas. Aha, someone's lurking. Hey yo, that's Pops. That's the man behind the Madness Entertainment Group. He's dropped by to say hello. Hello, Pops. Glad to have you along, sir. Now I'm getting distracted here. I wanted to do the face first. I've started going towards the body. I can be quite guilty of that sometimes here. I get carried away talking and then even forget to do certain parts of the artwork. Hang on. So let's have a look. What can we do with his face? I want a gentle nose coming around. There. The lips. Yeah, I do like the way how comic artists, like my reference, right? This is Shanna the She-Devil from back in the 1970s. Okay, you see how she looks like she's perfectly made up. John Lemaitre was so good at drawing beautiful women. He made it look so easy. You know, they've always got their pristine makeup and they're in the jungle. It's hilarious. But it works. It works. Then we get the bottom lip. And I'm going to be just as bad. I'm going to put a highlight on her lip as if she's got lip gloss. Ah, dear. Comic book drawing. Defying logic. Now let's go to the eyes. The inner eye. Again, I'm going to exaggerate her makeup. Very lustrous lashes. And the eyelid. The eyelid gives it more of a sultry feel. Then the eyeball looking towards us. So here, some ridiculous eyelashes at this angle. How about that? There, and again, this eyeball looking down towards us. And the eyelid. And then a John Romita eyelash. Can't go wrong with John Romita eyelashes. Eyebrows, sorry, when we talk about eyelashes. Just a little cleft under the eye. Okay, so now we put in some main contours for the hair. I'm not going to go too heavy on the rendering because we do not have enough time for such extravagance. Next week, we'll be learning how to draw Black Panther. Black Panther. And I better not spend too long. When I get into doing hair, I can get a bit carried away, mate. Now, Shanna actually has red hair. Well, actually it's orange, but she's what you'd call a redhead. So her hair's not dark. Yee! Terrible. Okay, so let's get to some foreshadowing. So we have this band going around her arm, yeah? And it's a bit of a... It's attached to like a string. So I'm gonna draw the string first. Is young Texas Dave still with me? Big shout out to the young Texas Dave who's drawing along. And is the underarm. It's very hard to resist getting into a lot of full rendering. This wrapping, I can tell you something now. Sometimes you look at someone's drawing, or it could be your own drawing, and something looks wrong. Something that you need to immediately check is if you're foreshortening, if you've got any foreshortening happening, that something's not wrong with your foreshortening. It's very tricky. Now I'm looking at my construction here, and I think my thumb is too big. So I've gone in there to do a bit of retrofitting. Okay, young Texas Dave. Okay, I led you astray there. That thumb was too long. I do sometimes get a bit excited with my foreshortening. I can overdo things. Yeah. Okay, so let's get to inking this hand. Go out to my inking layer. Now, I didn't actually give her a fingernail. Whoops. I didn't give her a fingernail here, but I will now. Bring the thumb down slightly. And then add the nail on top. Here. Get the flick on the finger. Remember to keep those fingers slim. When it's kind of very heavy foreshortening, it's easy to make the fingers too fat. I'm guilty of that, so I have to keep a wily eye on that. I think every artist has an artistic footprint, I call it. And something that I have to be careful of is I often make my index fingers bigger than my middle fingers. which of course is wrong. An index finger is not as big as a middle finger. It's just one of those quirky things, if you like. I'm going to change the trajectory of that nail here as well. And that needs to come back in. There. Good. Now, as you take a line into a line when you're inking, make sure it goes in solidly. Quite often, you'll see an inker. Okay, here's the back of her body. When this line meets this line, try to avoid going thin and then going thick. What you want is a definitive touching. You come out of there with intent. But it's often, you'll see an inker, when he gets near to another line, he goes a bit light. And I mean, you can't say it's wrong, but it's something that you don't see with a lot of the better inkers, because you want to keep things fluid. You know, you don't want to see any breaks in the artwork for no reason. So here's the costume. It comes up here. Then it goes around the ring. Same here. The costume comes up. And it goes around the ring. There's a costume. Now the costume line on the inside is a bit thinner, than the key line. See, my outer lines here are the thickest. Generally speaking, you have like 2 or 3 thicknesses when you're inking. You see the outer key line of something and in the details. So here's the ring. Yee. It's not consistent. And then up here is the rest of the ring. And it goes into the top there. So here's the collarbone. This kind of detail is thinner. It's what I call inner contours. That's the body going into a contour. So now, okay, we go to the other arm. Here's that strap. We put a bit of thickness in. For the strap. Yee! That's not very steady, boy. Hold on a second. Calm down. Calm down, boy. Calm down. I'm looking forward to doing this hand, you see, so I'm not focusing. Focus. Okay, now these teeth that she's got hanging from parts of her costume. Okay, I'm just going to vary them here to give it a bit of movement. You notice that I'm making the edge of each tooth thinner. Because things that are sharp, you want to finish with an edge. Just correcting that bit of anatomy there. Actually, Shanna might get some stress from some modern day activists because she's cavorting about the place with the teeth of some wild animal hanging off her clothing. Some people might see that being rather distasteful. His fingers in. And a raised index finger. That always gives a nice bit of feeling to it. Might see that coming up there. Now I've got stabilization on because I'm trying to ink accurately. For this vine, I have to switch off the stabilization because I want something more organic going on now. And with stabilization, you can't get a rough pattern going. I remember the first time I saw Todd McFarlane's rendition of Spider-Man's webbing. It was so different to what I was used to. It was very popular though. I stopped collecting comics between Marvel Comics. I stopped collecting for quite a period of time between 1979 to about the 1990s. And a lot had happened during that time. You know, Todd McFarlane had come on the scene. He had changed a lot about Spider-Man. And one of the most noticeable things was the way he rendered Spider-Man's webbing. It's very different to what I was used to doing when I was there drawing a webhead. Now, this might be a bit naughty that I didn't sketch this stuff before. If young Dave is still there, yes, it is a bit naughty that I should do this. This is called Supa-Saturdays Draw-Along. And I have to keep myself in check that I don't go racing off by doing things that, there's no time to actually do. We've got 17 minutes left. Yeah, I think we can finish ink this lady. Okay, hold on. There's a message here. Made by the same director as Morats. Yes, correct. Yeah, that's the movie. Oh, Kerry. Was that Jerome? Was that Kerry? Kerry's been giving me some very encouraging words recently about how to be more of a salesman. Have you been filling your art book? Dear, speak of devil. I've been trying. I'm very British in that respect, sometimes I think you can say that sometimes we Brits, we can be a bit understated, so to speak. Okay, I made her waist thicker there because I want her stomach to be more thrust forward. But yes, Carrie, I made a trailer that I played earlier. And if I have enough time, I'll play it again before the end of the show. She's got like a bikini. And it comes in. I put in a bit of shape to the bikini there. Thick, thin, thick. I like varied lines on my inking. But inking is a very individual thing, you could say. There are so many different styles of inking out there. And just recently, I've started embarking on inking the work of one of the greats, a guy by the name of Gene Colan. And his work isn't the easiest in the world to ink, And I'm having great fun online getting feedback from some of the other senior comic book geeks. And they give me feedback on what they thought I've done with some of the inking that I've done on Mr. Colin's pencils. And Mr. Colin has quite the following. I don't like that. One guy says it should be illegal for anyone to ink G. Colin's pencils. Ah, dear. I found that quite funny. Toes. Should I give her a pedicure? Okay, slightly. God damn. But Jerome, she's living in the jungle. How could she get a pedicure? Don't ask. In fact, the more I'm doing it, the longer her toenails are getting. Ah, dear. In fact, I had the joints the wrong place as well. And now a raised toe. Getting the foot and the joint, ankle. Here's the knee, lower foot. Don't like that. Close the line all the way in. Good. And now with this, just put in a bit of movement for the kneecap. Then the lower foot. Back of the foot. God damn. I find it easier to ink traditionally than digitally. It's easier to keep your hand steady. But of course, when you ink traditionally, if you make a mistake, it's harder to fix. That goes without saying. But ordinarily, I much prefer to ink traditionally as opposed to what I'm doing here, which is digital. You see that? I'm getting tempted. I'm getting tempted to put in more detail. If I start doing that, I'm going to run out of time. So just put in some of the most important bits of detail. Let me see my sketch. Okay, I'm going to drop in just a little bit of the calf there. Not the calf, sorry. Hang on. Be more subtle, boy. Okay. And let's just put in the hair. And to young Dave, if you're watching, because of time restrictions, when it comes to the pattern, I'm going to cheat. How long we got? 10 minutes, yeah. Maybe I don't have to cheat. But I suppose this draw-along is not only for traditional artists, it's for digital artists as well. So what I'm going to show you here is, generally speaking, let's say we have a pattern like what's on her costume. What I would do is I would go on a separate layer and I would make that pattern definitively on a separate layer. Yep. If you're watching Young Dave, remember, digital is a tool. And, you know, when I go to a Comic Con and someone asks me for a sketch, if I can't draw traditionally, then I lose a lot of money. So I would never tell someone to just work digitally. It is very convenient, but, you know, it's like a musician that can't sing. They can make a lot of money in a recording studio and sell CDs, but they lose out on a live audience unless they're going to play backing tapes and that kind of stuff. Excuse me. So then what I do with this paw is I would duplicate it, and like here, I want it distorted because it's going over the volume of her chest. And that same one I would put here, same rate of distortion, but I want this one again because this one is more black to the eye. Maybe a slight bit of distortion as it goes around the volume of the chest. But this one, should I put some upside down? Yeah, why not? Be a devil, live dangerous. So then I do a lot of duplicating. Come on, don't look at it. Look at the computer stalling now because I'm trying to move fast. Don't let me down, boy. Yee! Jesus. Okay, good. And I'll just remove the bits that I don't want. There's one here that I did. That one. Need to remove this. Then my original, which is this one, I'm now going to merge all of these ones together. Good. I go back to my original. Whoops. Would help if I took the right layer. And I put these in on this one as well. Shanna the She-Devil. In fact, I remember the first time I saw Shanna. I thought she was very cool. I liked the jungle characters, actually. You also had Kazar. We'll be drawing Kazar later this month during Jungle June. Jungle June. Yeah, man, Jungle June. We'll be doing Brother Voodoo. Brother Voodoo. It's such a ridiculous name. And we'll be doing Black Panther. I'm still not decided when to actually do. I think next week we'll do Black Panther. And then we'll probably do Kazar the week after that. And we'll leave Brother Voodoo to the end. Yeah, man. He's one cool character. A lot of the stuff on the Disney Channel, I didn't see. So anyone watching here, did Brother Voodoo ever appear in any of the Marvel series that were on Disney Plus and that kind of stuff? Has anyone here ever seen Brother Voodoo appear in a TV show? I've never seen him appear anywhere. He was one cool character, man. Okay, we're getting there. We're getting there. How long we got left? 5 minutes. Come on, boy. 5 minutes. And I want to run, just for Kerry, I want to run my trailer again for the book, to prove to her that I have been chilling. The world's worst salesman. One more down here. Right, let's start dry erasing. Now, let me merge all of these. Okay, they're all in one place. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab this whole lot over here and just pull them over here. I do. Then pull it again. Yee! Pull it again here. Stretch. Stretch, boy. Stretch. Okay, good. Then I'll switch off all my sketching and all my patterns. I come to my ink layer. I'll select her pants area. And then I will copy, paste. Then I can come back here and I can delete all of this. I remove my master and make these two one layer and call them pattern. Okay, so that's the end of Shanna. Ooh, I didn't put any detail in her hair behind. Not that I was putting a lot of detail anyway, but there. And a bit of detail around here. Okay, that's the end of Shanna the She-Devil. So let's have a quick zoom in on what went on. Okay, so we started with a skeleton where we showed the basic shape of the hands and the feet. Then we fleshed out the basic shapes and the trajectories. There's some trajectories. Then we sketched. And the sketch was relatively accurate. And then the inking was much more accurate. A foreshortened hand, a face looking upwards, which is always a bit tough. Yee, look at that inking. Damn. Didn't see that when I did it. I wonder how many of you at home saw that when I did it. Okay, so that brings an end to Shanna. And let me just check the messages before I say goodnight. Oh, wait a second. People have been busy in here. Okay. No. Houston says, Houston Dave says, nice line work. Thank you. Thank you, Dave. I am a bit of a neat freak when it comes to inking. I mean, there's all different kinds of inking, but I do like very tight inking. It's a preference. So just before I go, I'm going to run the trailer for my book that's available. Thanks so much for tuning in. I will be back here the same time next week. And of course, 1 a.m. on a Saturday morning, I'm here for a late night art attack with Raoul. I'm going to run a trailer for what we did earlier. So hopefully I'll see you next week at 1 a.m. Eastern and also at 6 p.m. Eastern next Saturday. Thank you so much for joining in. And as always, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for tuning in. Stay tuned for these trailers. Peace.
Previously on Late Night Art Attack.
Paying tribute and great homage to the United States of America on its esteemed 250th birthday comes How to Draw Characters from the Thunder Zone Activity Book, a 188-page activity book that launches on July 4th, 2026. Written and illustrated by Jerome Hinds, president of the Association of Comic Artists Singapore. Comes the ultimate tribute to the birthplace that brought to the world the splendor of superheroes and comic books. Jerome is a creator and senior editor at USA-based Thunder Zone Comics, and in the book, he shares with you the knowledge and methodologies of his work from over the past 8 years, all neatly wrapped up in a 10-chapter step-by-step tutorial. He covers full-length character construction, studies in hands and feet, secrets in foreshortening with props and weapons wielding, plus penciling techniques, inking, digital coloring, and even comic book cover layouts. It's all here and available in both soft or hardcover. And if you really can't wait to get your hands on the physical thing, there's always the digital guidebook edition available for pre-order now. How to Draw Characters from the Thunder Zone Activity Book, with Jerome Hinds launching Independence Day 2026. And available now for digital pre-orders, exclusively from Amazon.com.
If you missed the live viewing of any Meg production, you can find all our content on Roku or as a member of this channel. Madness Entertainment Group.